Hello friends, so in this video I will be talking about the closures. Okay, so I have seen lots of videos on YouTube from top JavaScript developers who are saying that you write a function and you access some global variable in that function and then that is a closure. So this is completely wrong. Just watch this video till end and I will tell you why this is wrong and what closure actually is. So let's jump to the computer and then I will let you know what is the closure. On the computer, and here is one function, simple function I have created. We have got one global variable as well, a is equal to 12. Very simple script. There is one function and all we are doing is just printing the value of a, and if you run this it should print a. But important thing to note here is that this function has just two scopes, local scope and global scope. So local scope means inside this function whatever is the variables we will declare, that will be the local scope. Okay, so let us create one local variable, no worries, say x is equal to 10 or say 100. Okay, and we can basically print it as well, no problem at all. Locally scoped x, and the output will be 12 and 100. So 12 is coming from the global scope, it will go to the global scope and print it. X, it will find it in the local scope and print it. So let us run this one and then see the output. So I'm just gonna refresh this, and if you go to the console, you can see globally scoped a is 12, locally scoped x is 100. Yeah, it printed that thing. But if you look at the console here, sources, and then let me put a breakpoint over there and refresh this one. So we will be able to clearly see the scopes. So here you can see, as I said, there are only two scopes. Okay, local scope and global scope, and that is why there is nowhere a closure comes into picture in this kind of scenario. But a lot of people on YouTube are saying that, you know, this acts as a closure, but this is not a closure. The variable a that is being accessed, that is not because of closure, it's because of global scope. A function can access global variables. I hope that is clear. Now let's move on to the next more complicated example where I will explain you what is the closure. Okay, so let us comment this out. We don't need this now. And we have got another example. Remember that we have still this global variable a, and what is happening in this particular example is, now there are two functions. Okay, I strongly believe that we need at least two functions when the closure comes into picture. Without minimum two functions, it is not possible to have a closure scope. So let us say we have one function here, and in that function this is the b, which is locally scoped to the function f1, and this is locally scoped. Okay, locally scoped b, which will print 10 as expected, and there is another function inside it. Okay, and that is where the closure will be generated. But it will not be like generated for all the functions, all the nested functions, only if this function refers at least one variable that is declared in outer function. So in this f2, if you see here, we are accessing a, b and c. So a is coming from the global scope that we have already declared and assigned as well. So value is 12. So that is coming from the global scope. There is another variable that we are accessing b, and that is where the closure is coming into picture. So when this function tries to access this b, and it knows that it is not in this like local scope, and what happens is that it checks the outer scope. It says that okay, in outer scope there is a function, and in that function's local scope there is a b. Okay, at this point of time the closure is happening. Okay, that closure scope is created at this point of time, and this local scope is very simple. This function f2 has locally scoped variable c, and all we are doing is just calling this function. So let us save this and then go to this particular thing, and let me remove the breakpoint as well. And if you look at the console, you can see A, B and C values 12, 10 and 13. 12, 10 and 13. So it printed correctly. A was 12, B was 10 and C was 13. Now let me show you interesting thing. So if you go to the sources, and I'm gonna put a breakpoint inside the F2, that is the innermost function, and this is where you will see the closure actually live. So let me just refresh this once again, and you can see here, as I said previously in the first example, we had just two scopes, local and global, but in this particular example we have got another scope that is called as closure, and that closure scope was created based upon the function f1. Okay, so this was the outer function. All right, so that is how the closure works. Now another interesting thing I'm gonna show you. So here I'm not gonna access the B. So here at this point of time, you can see it is just trying to access A and C in this particular function f2. So this time around closure will not be created. Remember that it is not necessary that if the function is nested, the closure is going to be created. Closure will only get created when this function f2 needs some variable that are defined in the outer function's scope. So we are not accessing B here. That means closure will not be created. So let us just save this, and then I'm gonna put a breakpoint. Already breakpoint is there. So just refresh this, and if you just run this one, did you see this? This time around, even the function f2 is there, and which is nested inside f1, the closure is not created, because the simple reason is that we are not accessing any variables outside of this f2 which are like in the function, outside a function. So in f1 there is a B, but we are not accessing inside f2, and that's why closure is not created. As simple as that. We are accessing the C, which is local scope, we are accessing A, which is a global scope. Okay, and most of the people are thinking that when we access A, it is actually creating closure. No, it is not creating closure, it is accessing that A from the global scope. I hope this must have cleared your doubt, and if you have any more questions related to this, let me know in the comments, and I will definitely try to make some more videos surrounding this closure, because closures are a very important concept and very confusing as well. Lot of people make mistakes when working with closures, especially when you are creating the closures in for loops. So I will explain about this, but in the next video. Bye bye for now.